I didn't see the message until after midnight. We'd just gotten back from our wedding rehearsal dinner. Or rather, his wedding rehearsal dinner. That's what it felt like. His family had practically organized the whole thing, down to the menu, the color-coded napkins, even the playlist that somehow only had country music I didn't recognize. I tried to laugh it off, tried to smile and thank everyone and let it go. But when I got into bed, heels kicked off, dress half unzipped, makeup smudged, I saw it. A message from his sister. Maddie, 11:49 p.m. I know this isn't the right time, but you deserve to know the truth before it's too late. That's all she wrote. No follow-up, no explanation, just that. My heart sat still in my chest for a second, then did this weird thud-thud pause thing that always happens when I get anxious. I stared at the screen for a good 5 minutes before typing back. Me. 12:07 a.m. Maddie, what are you talking about? The 3 dots popped up, then vanished, then came back, then disappeared again. I never got a reply. Let me rewind a bit. I'm Adrienne, 32, middle school counselor, raised in Philly, living in Richmond. Been with my fiancé, Jason, for almost 4 years. Met him on Hinge. First date was coffee and bowling. We were both awful, but in sync awful, you know? Jason is one of those golden retriever type guys. Soft eyes, easy smile. The kind of man who brings you soup when you're sick without asking if you want it first. And for the most part, he's been good to me. But he comes from this very tight family. Small town Virginia kind of close. Parents still married, still do Sunday dinners with roast chicken and buttered corn. 2 sisters, Maddie, the oldest, a divorced mom of 2 who runs a real estate team, and Caitlin, the baby, still in college. And then Jason, the golden boy. I thought they liked me, at first. Then came the subtle things, Maddie making comments like, "Wow, you're so assertive, Adrienne," with a weird, tight smile. His mom asking me if I planned to keep working after marriage, as if it were a controversial choice. Caitlin following and unfollowing me on Instagram like it was a game. Jason always brushed it off, said they were just adjusting or they don't mean it like that. But deep down, I felt it. I wasn't who they pictured him marrying. I was too loud, too city, too not them. Still, Jason proposed on our 3rd anniversary. Took me to a botanical garden, read a letter he wrote, got down on one knee. It was beautiful. I said yes. We set a date. October 12th, tomorrow. So yeah, that message from Maddie? It hit like a freight train. I lay there in the hotel bed next to Jason, who was snoring lightly, one arm sprawled across the pillow like always. I kept rereading it. You deserve to know the truth. About what? I stared into the dark room, the white LED hotel clock glowing 12:41. Then I did something I shouldn't have. I opened Maddie's Facebook, scrolled back, way back. There was a post from 2 years ago, a family barbecue. Jason was tagged, standing next to a blonde girl with her arm around his waist. I'd never seen her before. Curious, I clicked on her profile. Taylor Brooks, private account. Only her profile picture was visible. Same blonde hair, slightly longer. Big smile, standing on a beach. I Googled her name, plus Jason. And there it was. Engagement announcement. Jason Whitmore and Taylor Brooks are thrilled to share their engagement. I sat up in bed so fast I made Jason stir. He mumbled something and rolled over. I stared at that page for 5 whole minutes before clicking off. Why hadn't he told me? Why was there an engagement photo of him and someone else? Was this Maddie's truth? My stomach turned. It was probably nothing. Maybe they got engaged and it didn't work. Maybe he didn't think it mattered. Maybe it was short-lived. But then I saw the date. June 2020. He proposed to me in October 2021, a little over a year later. I needed answers. The next morning, I pretended everything was fine. I got up before Jason, put on an extra layer of concealer, made coffee, even joked about the crummy hotel pillows. We had a full day ahead, brunch with both families, final dress fitting, rehearsal at the venue. But my mind was buzzing. I pulled Maddie aside at the bridal suite after the fitting. She was sitting on one of those pink velvet benches, sipping iced coffee and flipping through Instagram. "Can we talk?" I asked. She looked up. "You saw the message." "I did." She sighed, set her coffee down. "I wasn't trying to ruin anything, Adrian. I don't want you to walk into this blind." "Blind to what, exactly?" She hesitated. "You were never Jason's first choice." I felt something cold twist in my chest. She went on. "Taylor broke his heart. They were supposed to get married last year. She called it off. Left him. He was wrecked. And then, 3 months later, he started seeing you." I said nothing. "I'm not saying he doesn't love you, but I think you were plan B." My jaw clenched. "You don't know what we have. I know he still has a box of her letters in our parents' attic." "What?" Maddie stood up, voice low. "He visits that attic every time we come home. Says he's getting old books or whatever. But I've seen him. He opens that box and just sits there. For hours." She looked at me, pity soft in her eyes. "I think he's trying to move on. I really do. But if you go through with this, just know, you weren't the first one he wanted to marry." That night, I asked Jason about Taylor. I didn't mention Maddie, just brought it up casually while brushing my teeth. "Did you ever get engaged before me?" I asked, watching him in the mirror. His toothbrush froze. Then he rinsed and spat. He leaned on the counter. "Yeah, a long time ago." "Why didn't you tell me?" He shrugged. "It didn't matter. It was over." "How long before we met?" "A few months." I turned to him. "Did you love her?" He hesitated. "I thought I did. But looking back, it wasn't what we have." I stared at him, trying to see if that was the truth. He pulled me in, kissed my forehead. "I love you, Adrian." But the kiss felt muted, mechanical, like he was saying what he thought I needed to hear. "The wedding is tomorrow. I'm supposed to be asleep. Instead, I'm sitting on the hotel bathroom floor in my robe, phone in hand, scrolling. Scrolling through Taylor's name. Through posts she's tagged in. Through photos of Jason with her arm around him. Through the comments from his family. Perfect couple. Can't wait for the big day. Finally! And then I see it. A comment from Maddie dated July 2020. "So happy you're officially going to be my sister. You're everything I prayed for." I close the app. I stare at the tiles, the grout lines. And then I see a missed call notification on my lock screen. One missed call. Maddie Whitmore. 12:12 a.m. One voicemail. I press play. Her voice is quiet. Barely a whisper. I wasn't gonna say this, but I found out why she really left. It wasn't distance. It wasn't cold feet. It was something about a secret. A betrayal. I don't know what, but she walked away for a reason. I thought you deserved to know. Do what you want with that. My hands are shaking. And in that moment, I realized something awful. I might be marrying a man I don't truly know. A man who proposed with someone else's ring. A man who might still be in love with a ghost. The morning of my wedding, I opened my eyes to sunlight pouring through cheap hotel blinds. Jason was already gone. A little post-it note sat on the nightstand. "Went for a jog. Needed to clear my head. Love you forever." I stared at it for a while, then flipped it over, like maybe there'd be a hidden message. There wasn't. I showered in silence, letting the water scald my shoulders. I didn't cry. Not yet. But that voicemail from Maddie was playing on loop in my head. She walked away for a reason. It was something about a secret. A betrayal. And I couldn't stop thinking about that attic box full of letters. What kind of man keeps love notes from his ex-fiancée in his parents' house? Who goes up there and just sits? It wasn't just about the past. It was about the present. And what he hadn't told me. When Jason came back, flushed and sweat-drenched in a VCU t-shirt, I pretended to still be asleep. He kissed my cheek, whispered, "Big day," and went to shower. I stayed in bed, eyes closed, stomach in knots. I kept thinking maybe I was being dramatic. Maybe he was just sentimental. Maybe I was his second choice once. But maybe that didn't matter anymore. People move on. People heal. Maybe I was the person who helped him heal. But that line from Maddie echoed back. You weren't the first one he wanted to marry. At noon, the glam squad arrived. 3 women, all black leggings and acrylic nails, rolled in with ring lights and cases full of curling irons. I sat in the hotel chair while Tasha, the main stylist, pinned up my hair and made casual small talk about waterproof mascara. My maid of honor, Brielle, was scrolling Instagram on the bed, munching on a protein bar. She didn't know anything. I hadn't told her. I couldn't. I just nodded and smiled and let them transform me into a bride. I looked at myself in the mirror. Lashes, contour, soft updo with pearl pins. But I didn't look like me. I looked like someone about to perform the biggest lie of her life. The wedding was scheduled for 4 p.m. at a venue just outside Richmond. An old converted mill with exposed brick and Edison bulbs strung overhead. Trendy, Pinterest-worthy, warm. The weather was perfect. 69 degrees. Clear skies. Guests started arriving around 3:15. I stood behind a curtain with Brielle, clutching my bouquet like a life raft. I still hadn't told anyone. Not my mom, who was already seated. Not Jason's parents, who were floating around greeting guests. Not even Jason, who I hadn't seen since his morning jog. I was about to walk down the aisle and marry a man whose ex-fiancé broke off their engagement for a reason he never told me, and whose sister thought I deserved to know that reason. Ready? The coordinator whispered. I nodded. The music started. Some soft indie acoustic version of a Coldplay song. Brielle stepped out first. Then the flower girl. Then me. I held my breath as I walked down the aisle. Guests turned and smiled. Cameras lifted. Someone dabbed tears. Jason stood at the end, hands clasped, eyes locked on me. And for a moment, I felt it. That swell of emotion. But then I noticed something. His expression. It wasn't joy. It was panic. Like he was trying to hold something in. Like he was about to cry. Not from happiness, but something else. We stood facing each other. The officiant began. Something about love. About joining souls. I heard none of it. I was focused on Jason's hands. Slight tremble. White knuckles. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the ring. It was simple. Gold. Delicate. And suddenly I knew. It wasn't new. It wasn't mine. I'd seen it before. On Taylor's finger. In that old photo on Facebook. I was wearing her ring. I wanted to throw up. Adrian, Jason began, voice cracking. From the moment I met you, I felt... I stopped him. I'm sorry, I said loudly. The officiant blinked. Jason froze. I need a minute. I turned and walked, not down the aisle, but off to the side. Toward the small garden path that led behind them, venue. Guests murmured. Phones lowered. Silence followed me. Brielle was on my heels. Girl, what the hell? I need a second, I said. She caught my arm. What's going on? I turned to her, voice shaking. He gave me her ring. What? Taylor. His ex. The one he was engaged to before me. He never told me. His sister did. Brielle's face shifted from confusion to fury in a blink. You are kidding me. I saw it in a photo. It's the same ring. Adrian. There's more. He has a box of her letters. Still. In his parents' attic. Brielle went quiet. And Maddie said Taylor left because of a betrayal. I looked her in the eye. I think he cheated on her. I didn't go back out right away. I sat on a bench behind the venue, breathing hard, bouquet tossed beside me. Jason came around the corner 5 minutes later. His tie was loose. His hair ruffled. He sat down next to me. Quiet. Then he said, I never wanted to lie. Then why did you? He rubbed his hands together. Because I didn't want to lose you. That's not an answer. He looked at me. Taylor left because I kissed someone else. My stomach flipped. She found out. Called off the engagement. He paused. I never slept with anyone. It was a mistake. One night. After a fight. But yeah. I messed up. She was right to leave. And the ring? He swallowed. It was my grandmother's. I proposed to Taylor with it, and when she left, she gave it back. I didn't want to waste it. I stared at him. You proposed to me with her ring, after cheating on her, after hiding all of this. He nodded. Yes. And then softly, but I love you. I stood up. Love without truth isn't love. I walked back into the venue with mascara tracks down my face. People turned. Whispers fluttered. The officiant looked at me, unsure. I took the mic, and I told them. Told them I couldn't marry someone who wasn't honest with me. Told them I found out he was engaged before. That he never told me why it ended. That the ring wasn't new. That trust has to be mutual. Jason didn't interrupt. He just stood there. Silent. I took off the ring and placed it on the table. Then I walked out. Guests were stunned. Some stood. Some gasped. His mother looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Maddie met my eyes across the room, and for the first time ever, she nodded. A small, slow nod. Like respect. It's been 3 weeks. The venue refunded us half. Jason moved out of my apartment, took his things, left the box of Taylor's letters behind. I haven't opened it, but I did go up to his parents' attic once, and I found something odd. There was a second ring box in a small drawer, different style. Silver band. Small diamond. Inside was a sticky note. Bought this one after Taylor left, just in case. Dated before we even met. So maybe I wasn't the backup plan. Maybe I was the insurance policy. I didn't leave the city. I didn't take a sabbatical. I didn't run off to Europe or shave my head or post some long breakup video on Instagram with a sad indie song playing in the background. I went back to work. I sat in my tiny office at Lincoln Middle School, with the motivational posters peeling off the walls and the stale smell of microwave popcorn seeping through the hallway. And I started counseling again. Middle schoolers don't care that your wedding imploded. They don't care that your ex-fiancé recycled a ring. They care about cafeteria fights and TikTok drama and whether their crush liked their story. It was grounding, like cold air in the lungs. The Monday after what would have been my honeymoon, a 7th grader named Jasmine burst into my office crying because her best friend sat with someone else at lunch. And somehow, that cracked something open in me. Because grief is weird like that. You think it'll come during the speeches, or when you see your dress hanging in your closet. But it hits during a middle school meltdown about friendship bracelets. Jason tried calling once. I didn't pick up. He texted me 3 days later. Jason, 1:12 p.m. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know I never stopped loving you. I was scared. I was selfish. I hope one day you'll understand. I stared at the bubbles, then turned off read receipts. Left him on delivered. I couldn't delete his contact. Not yet. But I changed his name in my phone to Jason. Nope. A soft boundary. Every few nights, I'd dream of the wedding. Sometimes I was walking down the aisle barefoot. Sometimes Jason was replaced by someone faceless. Sometimes it was Taylor waiting for me at the end. And sometimes there was no one. Just silence. Like the ceremony itself refused to happen. A week later, I got coffee with Maddie. She reached out, said she wanted to talk, said it wasn't fair to leave things unsaid. We met at a corner cafe near campus. She wore jeans, a sweater, minimal makeup. Looked more human than I'd ever seen her. She slid into the booth and ordered a black coffee. No sugar. Thank you for coming, she said. I sipped my oat milk latte and nodded. I almost didn't. I know. We sat in silence for a moment. Then she said, I wanted to hate you, you know. Why? Because you were the aftergirl. You showed up when everything was still raw. Jason was a wreck. My mom cried every day. Taylor had been part of the family for years. We loved her. She looked down. But the truth is, He changed with you. He got steadier, calmer, more grounded. Then why tell me all that right before the wedding? Because I thought he hadn't told you anything, and I couldn't live with myself if I watched you walk into a lie. She paused. I wasn't trying to sabotage the wedding. I was trying to save you. I looked at her, blinking back the sting in my eyes. You could have told me earlier. She nodded. I was scared you'd think I was just being cruel, like I always had been. I laughed a little, bitter. You were cruel. Yeah, I know. Another silence. Then she pulled out a small manila envelope and slid it across the table. What is this? Taylor's letter. The last one she ever wrote him. I found it in the attic. Thought you might want to read it. I stared at the envelope. I haven't opened the others, I said. You shouldn't. This one says it all. I didn't read it that night, or the night after. I kept it in my top drawer under old receipts and takeout menus and a broken necklace clasp. But on the fourth night, after a particularly rough session with a student whose parents were divorcing, I came home, curled up on the couch, and opened it. It was dated October 4th, 2020. Exactly 1 year before Jason proposed to me. Dear Jason, I wish I could say I don't love you anymore. But that's not true. I still love the version of you that held my hand at my dad's funeral. The one who made blueberry pancakes when I was sick. The one who promised we'd build a life on honesty. But that version of you stopped showing up the night I found your texts. You didn't cheat with your body. You cheated with your heart. And maybe that's worse. You said you were lonely. That I was too busy. But love doesn't clock in and out. I know you'll move on quickly. You always do. I just hope the next girl doesn't fall for the version you want her to see. Because if she marries that man, she'll never know the truth. Goodbye, Taylor. I read it twice. Then I threw up in the sink. Because she was right. And I had fallen for that version. The curated Jason. The selfless Jason. The I love you forever Jason. And I never saw the cracks. I started therapy the next week. Found a woman named Dr. Hall who specialized in trauma bonding and relational grief. At our first session, she asked me, "What do you think you lost when the wedding didn't happen?" I said, "The future I thought I had." Then I paused. And also, the fantasy. She nodded like she'd heard that one before. I deleted the wedding folder from my Google Drive. Unshared the Pinterest board. Took down the save the dates still magnetized to my fridge. But I kept one photo. The one where I'm walking down the aisle, not the staged pose. The candid one. I'm mid-step, bouquet at my side, half a smile on my lips. And Jason is looking at me. But the light in his eyes is hollow. And I finally saw it. He wasn't smiling at me. He was smiling through me. Like I was a stand-in in someone else's dream. I went to Target one Saturday, a month later, and ran into Caitlin, his youngest sister. She was standing in the beauty aisle, comparing mascaras. We made eye contact. I nodded. She nodded back. Then she looked down. "Hey," she said. "I just wanted to say, I think you did the brave thing." I blinked. "You knew?" She shrugged. We all did. No one talked about it, but we knew Taylor left because of something ugly. And Jason never really faced it. She paused. "You deserve better than a man who hides behind silence." I nodded, throat tight. "Thanks." And then she smiled, just a little, and walked away. That night, I went back to the letter. Reread the line. I hope the next girl doesn't fall for the version you want her to see. And I thought about how long I'd tried to become that version. The patient partner. The understanding fiancé. The chill girl. But I'm not chill. I feel everything. Deeply. And for the first time in a long time, I decided that was a gift. Not a flaw. 6 weeks after the non-wedding, I walked into the local thrift store to donate the veil. The dress had already been boxed and shipped to a resale boutique. I told them to price it low. I didn't care about the money. I just didn't want to look at it anymore. But the veil, soft, sheer, hand-stitched with little pearl specks my mom and I sewed in ourselves, that one I had trouble letting go of. Until I didn't. The woman behind the counter looked at me like she wanted to ask what story came with it. I could feel the curiosity hanging in the air like perfume. But she didn't. She just said, "Thank you," and carefully laid it aside. I stepped back into the cold October air with nothing in my hands. Grief feels like hunger sometimes. Like your stomach is empty, but food won't help. I kept myself busy. Subbed extra sessions. Took long drives with no destination. Said yes to every happy hour invite and yoga class Brielle threw at me. I downloaded Hinge again. Deleted it again. Then downloaded it again. The cycle of fake optimism. A month passed. Then 2. In December, I got a wedding invitation in the mail. Heavy envelope. Embossed return address. One of Jason's cousins. I laughed. An actual loud, surprised laugh. Then tossed it in the trash, unopened. And that's when I realized something had shifted. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was watching the life I almost had, and realizing I didn't want it. Not like that. Not with that kind of dishonesty beneath it. At therapy, Dr. Hall asked me if I'd ever written Jason a letter. No, I said. Why not? Because I don't think he deserves it. She raised an eyebrow. Letters aren't for them, she said. They're for you. So I wrote one. I didn't send it. I didn't even address it. But I wrote everything I couldn't say. That I loved the man he wanted to be. That I spent so long trying to be easy and understanding. That I forgot to be honest. That I would have forgiven him, maybe, if he had just told me the truth without being cornered. I wrote that I wished Taylor peace. And that I wished myself something better than peace. I wished myself joy. On New Year's Eve, I went to a small rooftop party Brielle hosted. Just 12 people. Cozy lighting. Spotify playlist. Spiked cider in solo cups. I stood by the railing around 11:30, watching fireworks across the river. A guy wandered over and handed me a drink. We chatted. Nothing deep. Just light, lazy conversation about the music, the weather, the year that had been. His name was Leo. He was a nurse. He had an easy smile, the kind that didn't ask for anything. When the countdown started, we didn't kiss. We just smiled at each other and said, "Happy New Year." It was perfect. The next week, I ran into Jason. Not some metaphorical ran into. I literally ran into him. At Trader Joe's. He was holding a box of frozen orange chicken, and I bumped him with my cart near the produce section. We both froze. He looked thinner, tired, but still that same soft-eyed boy. "Adrian," he said. "Jason." Silence. Then he said, "You look good." "Thanks." More silence. He gestured toward his cart. "Dinner for one." I nodded. "Yeah, me too." We didn't say much else. Just this awkward, heavy air. Then he said, "I kept the letter. The one you left." I blinked. I didn't leave a letter. He pulled out his phone, scrolled, showed me a photo. It was Taylor's letter, the one Maddie gave me. I'd returned it to the attic. He must have found it. "I thought you wrote this." I shook my head. "No," I said. But maybe she said what I never could. That night, he texted me. "Jason, 8:44 p.m. Thank you for walking away. You taught me more by leaving than I ever learned by staying." I didn't reply, but I didn't block him either. Leo and I went on a real date. Then another. Then 3 more. It's nothing serious yet. Maybe it never will be. But when he laughs, it feels like clean air. When he texts, it's not cryptic or evasive. It's just, Leo, 2:12 p.m. Hey, want to grab lunch after your session? Or, Leo, 8:03 p.m. I saw this dog meme and thought of you. No grand gestures, no lies, just small kindnesses. And it's funny how revolutionary that can feel. One afternoon, I sat with my mom on her porch drinking chamomile tea. She hadn't asked much about the wedding fallout. She just hugged me the day I called it off and said, "You've got guts." But that day, she said, "Can I ask something?" Of course. What was the moment you knew you had to walk away? I thought about it, about the ring, the attic, the letter, but I said, it was when he kissed me on the forehead and told me he loved me, and I realized he didn't know me. Not really. She nodded. That's a hard thing to unsee. In late February, I got a small envelope in the mail, no return address. Inside was a photo. Me, walking down the aisle. The candid one. And on the back, scribbled in pen, I hope you see her now. She's free. It wasn't Jason's handwriting. It wasn't Maddie's either. Maybe it was Caitlin's. Or maybe someone else. But it didn't matter. I pinned it to my fridge with a magnet shaped like a sun. And for the first time in months, I felt warmth. Real warmth. The kind that says, you didn't just dodge a bullet, you chose yourself. Spring came. The daffodils outside my apartment bloomed like they'd been waiting for permission. And in a way, so had I. It wasn't some movie montage healing. I still had moments, driving past the old venue, seeing a couple wedding dress shopping at Nordstrom, catching that Coldplay song on the radio. They'd still hit me in the chest, soft and sudden, but they didn't floor me anymore. They just passed through, like waves instead of anchors. I started journaling again, not the curated Instagram kind with stickers and pastel markers, the raw, angry, uncensored kind. The kind that doesn't care if the grammar's off or the handwriting slants downhill. And one day in April, I wrote something I hadn't let myself before. I was worthy the whole time. Not just after I left. Not just because I dodged a wedding. Not because of what Maddie told me or what Taylor wrote. But from the beginning. Even when I was trying too hard. Even when I missed the signs. Even when I ignored my own gut. That sentence shook me. Because somewhere deep down, I'd believed the lie. That I was only lovable because I was patient. Because I forgave quickly. Because I was the cool fiancé. But no, I was lovable because I was me. And I didn't need to be a fantasy to be enough. Leo and I didn't become a fairy tale. We dated casually for a few months. He was kind, attentive, emotionally available. But something in me knew. We weren't it. And it was okay. We parted with a hug and a promise to keep rooting for each other. No drama, no regrets, just two people choosing themselves. In May, I got a DM on Instagram. From Taylor. Taylor Brooks. 2:01 p.m. Hey, Adrienne. Maddie told me what happened. I just wanted to say, I saw the photo. You looked powerful. Brave. I wish I'd walked away like you did. Took me longer to find my strength. But I'm there now. Thank you. For breaking the cycle. I stared at the message for a long time. Then replied. Me. 2:17 p.m. Thank you for writing that letter. It helped me walk out of something I didn't want to live in. I hope you're happy now. You deserve to be. We didn't follow each other. We didn't start chatting. Just that single exchange. Two women who unknowingly saved each other, years apart. By summer, my life had shape again. I applied for a counselor leadership role at my school. Started planning a solo trip to Portland. Adopted a senior rescue dog with a crooked tail and eyes like melted honey. Named her June. Because June was when I should have been returning from my honeymoon. And instead, it became the month I returned to myself. One night, I sat on the floor with June curled in my lap, scrolling through old photos I hadn't had the courage to delete. There it was. The ring. The same one I'd almost worn for life. I zoomed in on the image, on my own hand, and something small caught my eye. A hairline fracture across the band. So faint, I'd missed it the first dozen times. And I smiled, because even that ring knew it wasn't whole. I got a call from Brielle in late July. She was engaged, to her girlfriend Naomi. They asked if I'd officiate. I cried, said yes, bought a navy jumpsuit and matching heels. At their ceremony, I stood between them, holding back tears as I read, "Love isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about choosing someone fully, openly, with truth as your foundation." And for the first time, I didn't feel that twist in my chest when someone else said, "I do." I just felt hope. There's one more thing. A few weeks ago, I got a letter in the mail. Actual paper. No return address. Inside was a photo of the old ring. Mine, not Taylor's. Broken clean in two. And a note. I finally let it go. J. I stared at it for a long time, then slid it into a box of keepsakes. Not out of nostalgia, but because it was proof that some ghosts do lay down, eventually. Now, I sleep through the night. I laugh with my whole mouth. I don't apologize for taking up space. I wear colors I love, not the ones his mom said worked better for my tone. And I stopped waiting to be chosen. I choose myself now, every single day. Sometimes people ask, do you think he ever truly loved you? And the honest answer is, I don't know. But I loved me enough to walk away. And maybe, just maybe, that love was the most real of all. Was I wrong to walk away from the altar? Or was he wrong for thinking I wouldn't? Let me know what you would have done. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.